Hey everyone, it's Coach Tan here in the So What podcast. And today's episode is going to be a story. As you know, I love to share old stories and tales and relate them to, the thought process and the mindset about so what. Because I believe that people have been telling stories and saying so what for a long time. And it takes slowing down and remembering these stories to remind us that there's a lot of people before us who were, dealing with stress and the harshness of the world and how we as people deal with it. And this story I'm relating, it came to mind because of been hearing a lot around leadership right now. It's tough right now. It's tough to be a good leader when there's cuts and layoffs and all different types of things happening, which is out of your control. And it's harder and harder to say, so what? And make sure that you're doing the right thing. Make sure that you're being there for your employees and standing up for what is right. And so this story, and some of you may have heard a version of it. Again, a lot of these stories that I'm telling are stories that have been passed around from generation to generation. It's a Native American story, and it's the story of the rainbow crow. And it's a story about a long time ago, and when the world was covered in snow and ice, and it was cold, so cold that the animals were unable to find food and shelter and warmth, and the earth was becoming silent and full of despair. And the animals held a great council, and they decided someone must travel to the Creator and ask for fire to warm the earth so that they could survive. And many of the animals were strong, and some of them were clever, but none of them could handle the long, dangerous journey through the frozen sky, except for one. There was a crow. And at the time, that crow had the most beautiful feathers. They were shimmering and almost rainbow-like. And their voice was sweet. And the forest, and when they sung the song, the forest would just hush to hear the beautiful song of the rainbow crow. And even though she wasn't the biggest, she wasn't the most powerful, she volunteered. And the animals all said, "Hey, you're going to lose your beauty. Your feathers are going to burn. You might never come back the same." And the crow simply said, "If it saves the others, it's worth it." And so a few days, she flew for a few days, and in the freezing and in the darkness, and she reached the Creator, who gave her a burning stick and gave her the gift of fire. And the crow carried it, and back in the bleak, all the way back to earth. And the flames blackened her once rainbow feathers because of how long it took her to get across back to earth. And it also scorched her beautiful singing voice. The crow was no longer colorful, as I was saying, and her voice was hoarse and rough, but to the animals, she was more beautiful than ever, because she had sacrificed what made her be so admired and to become what made her a leader. So, of course, the moral of the story is that true leadership is not about being the most admired. It's not about being courageous. It's sometimes just standing up for what is right, even when it makes you uncomfortable and not popular. And I remember a long time ago, I was a very young little person, and I had a friend who got me into a little trouble, let's just say that. And I was being scolded by an adult, not my mom. And the adult said to me, "Well, if you're why did you do that? Why did you throw that rock? And I said, well, he threw the rock, so I threw the rock, and I thought I could throw the rock farther than him, and blah, blah, blah. And the guy said to me, well, if he jumps off a bridge, are you going to jump off the bridge? And of course, I know now what he was wanting me to say is no. But what I did say was, well, how high was the bridge? Is it dangerous? Was there water? I questioned it. And I think I had that so what attitude even way back then. And as a leader, if I worked with you, right? Like, it is so important that we have all the information, but then it's also important that we make our own decisions, and we do it with our moral compass of what is right and what is wrong. And sometimes we're not going to be the most popular, but that's why we're leaders, because people entrust us to lead us through the darkness, into some light, get to bring the hope. And that all starts, honestly, for me, with a so what attitude. So what if I'm not popular? So what if I have to say something that makes other people uncomfortable in the room, if it's the right thing to say? So, I think that, I ask all my friends out there, all people out there that are leaders, right now is a critical time. It is important for us to slow down and say, so what? So what if I am unpopular? So what if I am going to, not be as pretty or seen as great or as highly as, someone else? It's about stepping up, and it's about doing the right thing, because others are watching. Whether it is your kids, whether it is your employees, whether it is whoever it is that matters to you, but really, it should be more about mattering to you as a person. And so, yes, I agree. I know I do things for my kids. I'm sure you do. You do things for other people to look up to you, to admire you, all those things. But if you're not doing it with a moral compass, if you are not doing it for the right reasons, slow down. Think about it. Again, so what? Have the courage. So what? Stand up and do what is right. So, and the last thing I'm going to say, as you know, I got to talk about my Red Sox. A lot of people thought they lost 2 games to the Yankees. And you know what? They could have said, so what? We're going to lose this 3rd game. And guess what, everybody? They beat the Yankees yesterday. So what? Fight, fight, fight. Fight what is for right. Fight for yourself. Believe in yourself. And say, so what, to everyone else. Over and out.